So 2008 hits and destroys the construction industry, the real estate industry. We all know the headlines, but I want to hear it from your perspective as a builder right in the middle of it. Take me back to 2008. In that moment, what was that like?
It was a very difficult time. I mean, builders that I knew committed suicide. There were many contractors that didn't survive financially. I believe one of the statistics I heard at the time is 80% of the building industry had found other industries. And then as the market ramped up, our industry struggled to get people back to fill those positions. It was just we're seeing increase after increase, for appreciation, which as a builder, that's awesome. But then you see markets like Bend that collapse to 50% of value. And we're getting our notes called from banks that I think the eye-opener for, the banks treat you like they're your partner until they're not. And they're reevaluating your loans, and then they're asking you to bring up, 7 figures worth of money to pay down project loans. And we didn't have the money in the bank that they were calling on us. And it was a hard time because, a lot of us were living the dream. We had our kids in the right schools, and we had the cars and the homes, and the production levels we had in those days was 125, 150 homes that we were building, and we thought we had the system down to a fine-oiled machine. We were never a large company employee-wise, but we were building a lot of product.
So again, take me back to the moment. When do you realize that this is not just like a slowdown and everything's gonna fall apart?
Yeah, I think the reality was going to IBS, International Builder Show, and about a year and a half before the market tanked here, I'm talking with builders in various platforms and whatever, I don't remember if we were in Florida, wherever it was those early times, and builders are going, how's it going in Oregon? It's like, oh, it's going great. Yeah, well, still building spec homes? Like, oh yeah. And so it basically had shut down about everywhere else in the country, and a lot of us here felt like our economy here was too good and things weren't going to happen. I was trying to be proactive, and we were slowing down production, and we were really trying to trim costs and doing the prudent things that you would think you would do. The project that I had at the time was actually penciled initially that it worked even if there was no appreciation. So I thought I bought this project being extremely conservative, and then with my additional measures, I was safe. And it did not turn out that way.
You told me the story that you took a risk during that time, right? Didn't you buy into a project that you thought, okay, like I'm in at the right time, this is when everything's on sale,
yeah.
And then it went down farther? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so my prior business partner at the time, we had just finished a large project. That was when he went his own way and I went mine, at 111 unit condominium project in St. John's, which was a wild success. So I was ready for another project of that size. I bought a piece of property that I developed into 115 townhomes. And by all metrics, the property was a little higher than I had planned, but our numbers still worked based on the numbers of a project we literally just completed. And we got into it, sales started to work out good, and then it's like they just stopped. And unfortunately at the time, D.R. Horton had a project not too many miles away, and when that Goliath starts dropping prices, you think, okay, well, I've got a better location. I had an A location, they had a B, more like a C location. Our finishes were better. I mean, there was, if I'm being not being biased, the products were very different.
And it should have worked.
It should have worked. So I thought, okay, if they, as long as I maintain this gap between their prices, my location has the better sales value.
Okay.
But I learned that they can go to the bottom. Us small builders can't chase the Goliaths to the bottom because of how they do their books. And so I realized that wasn't working, so we came back up in price. We still got a few more sales. We changed up our marketing at the time. But the market just kept falling and falling, and sales literally just halted.
Okay. So during 2008, like we discussed, a lot of builders went under. You survived, barely, as you've told me.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of that period for you?
I think the hardest part was kind of looking in, one of the things with that time frame was I really felt I had the building process and development dialed. So it was a humbling experience because I thought I had finally worked out the kinks. I understand systems and processes. I had a great team at the time, and I think I've shared with you my accountability mirror and having to look in that mirror and go, no, you didn't. And, when the market's ramping up, it covers a lot of mistakes and fixes a lot of things that you don't know are broken because the market keeps moving up, and the undercurrent is what you don't realize until it falls. And then you see where you had weak links.
Okay, so during that time, you saw where the holes were.
Yeah.
What were those holes?
The holes were cost management. The prices were going up, so our sales prices were covering a lot of things we weren't aware of. We were, overpaying for this, and we had, we weren't aggressively shopping trades because we had our guys, and we needed projects completed, so we paid them what they asked. We weren't as aggressive on it as we needed to. We had internal systems that were flawed, and so after the market tanked and we basically had to rebuild, I personally rebuilt every single system, process, scope of work. I took the time. It's easy for our society right now to see ourselves as victims. And it's also very easy when you're talking with family members and friends. The old saying, you learn who your true friends are when things collapse because they all run away.
Yep.
The heartwarming thing for me is they all ran in. It's good and bad because they're supporting you, they believe in you, they love you, they're there for you, but they don't get what you're going through.
They don't have the skin in the game.
They don't. And so there was a couple other builders that I would meet with. We'd meet for coffee just so we could have that interaction because they had very similar scenarios, but they knew that the communication truly didn't understand the pain that we were going through. And it was very easy at that time for builders to just complain about the market. I knew that wasn't right by looking in the mirror for myself. I knew that, yes, the market fueled it, but it was my own internal systems, processes, and business management that allowed that to happen. So taking that ownership, that extreme ownership, is what made me literally just dissect everything. Where did we fail? What did we do wrong? How can we do better? And just spent months and months and months taking every single system by itself and rebuilding it. And I see every system we have is fluid. So I'm not that impressed with myself that I know the right answers to everything. And that's why I was saying I'm constantly trying to learn and better myself. And we've got a great project manager here with far more construction experience. I learn from him every day because I choose to. And we're still evolving. The same house we built today won't probably be built tomorrow because we'll learn something between the time we build that house. Not that the home today isn't what we consider the way things should be built, but I know I'm going to learn something by tomorrow that I'm going to want to implement in that house.
Love that. Hard question. Did you think about throwing in the towel?
I'm sure those thoughts popped into my mind. I had plenty of friends and family say, well, what are you going to do now? So keep in mind, by 2008, I had been in the real estate industry in some form or another for almost, 1986, so almost 30 years at that time. And I kind of looked at them and I said, I don't know what else I would do. It's what I have such a passion for. I have a passion for the sales side of things. I have a passion for the design side, and the creativity part of my brain feeds on creating something out of nothing. And so I can't say that I didn't think about it, but it didn't consume me, because I looked at the situation as it was my fault that happened to my company, and my company's got my name on it, so it's my baby and my passion. And so to see it go to ashes, I wasn't going to accept. And so I just, like I said, I went through to rebuild everything, learned from my flaws, learned from my mistakes, and tried to be better for it.
Okay. So you survived. You made it through, but I imagine coming out of something like that, you can't just go back to doing what you were doing. I know you talked about you changed some of the systems, but what did rebuilding after 2008 force you to rethink about how you run projects and how you run the business? Was it just the systems?
It was, because the systems...
I know we talked about mindset a little bit.
Yeah.
Go into that. Can you go into that for me?
Yeah, I mean, mindset was not... kind of feeding off of my accountability mirror aspect of the things is, I am in control of this. My actions do. I am responsible for the outcomes of my actions, and really tried to work through just staying positive. In fact, my voicemail is still the same today. During that time, I said, tell me something good and I'll call you back. And I get more and more people go, man, I love your voicemail. But I had to fight through it with a positive attitude. And I just saw everything as an opportunity, no matter how dark it might have been at that time, or what was facing me, or who I had to call. And I just knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and it wasn't just a train coming back at me.
So who is the Tony before 2008 versus right now?
I think the Tony at 2008 was, in some sense, blinded by the success of what I had built at that time. I mean, I don't come from any lap of luxury at all, and I was living that life that I knew someday I would have. And I think there's a situation where when you get into where all cylinders are firing and everything's working perfect, you lose sight of key principles. I think it's John Maxwell that says is, you don't learn during good times. Your education comes from the down times. So I didn't learn as much as I thought I did in those good times, but I went through the school of hard knocks in the down times. And the growth period in that is probably a growth period that I know that I hadn't experienced prior to that.